Beautiful. Right. So after all that, getting yourself here. So welcome. Welcome here. How can I support you today?
Yeah, that's a question that I've been contemplating for a little while. Is to, I guess right now is a good place to start, and that I feel really good, and that's possibly to do with the fact that I got up and I had a purpose this morning, and I had an intention, and I had definitive aims of and ideas about what today was going to look like for me. So for me, today has been about giving someone a sound therapy session this morning, then coming and being online here with you, and then later on in the day going to do some more stuff for my sound therapy, and then giving someone another session a bit later today. So it seems to be a good day like that. But the last 6 weeks, probably longer, have been a really interesting time for me. So I feel like the upshot is that I'm needing some assistance with working out a few things with regards to my purpose, regarding to changes that I need to make, that I know that I need to make. It's not even a case of wanting, although that is involved, obviously. And that includes, what I'm finding is it includes like a whole change of identity in a way, a change of how I'm presenting myself to the world, how I'm conducting myself, how I'm socializing, how I'm speaking with people, how I'm relating with people, how I relate to myself, and how I put into practice the very things that I've always wanted to put into practice, but now seems like this is the time to do it. And so I feel like I've been in a very liminal space for the last 6 weeks or so. And so, yeah, that's in a snapshot. That's kind of where I'm at. And my days fluctuate heavily between feeling great and feeling like I'm on the right path, to the complete opposite, where it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What is going on here? So I'm really fluctuating between that at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. And is that more thinking about, business wise, and what am I doing? Is it in those terms you're questioning yourself what you're doing, or is it like a general term for what's going on?
I feel like it's everything. It's everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all my work has always carried some sort of inherent relationship to my personal, because it requires that engagement. I mean, obviously, having worked in music for so many years, it's a lifestyle as much as it is an occupation, and it's a thing of passion and creativity as much as it is of discipline and persona and regimentation and all of the above, really. And it's always been intrinsically linked. Even when I was studying in academia, that was something that I did on the side as something that was fun and I was passionate about as well. But now, sort of faced with a few things, I'm finding that this is across the spectrum. It's across everything that I do that I'm feeling this. Like, it feels like it's a big shift and a big change.
So is there anything in particular that's brought that up, as in that it feels more like it's there now in comparison to a year ago or 2 years ago?
Yeah. So I feel like it's been there for quite some time, and since pre-COVID. what really triggered it was about 7 weeks ago, or actually about 12 weeks ago. I got quite ill with some abdomen stuff. We didn't know what it was. And then I developed some intense pain around my chest. Oh my God, am I having a heart attack? What's going on? Which I wasn't. But I went to hospital, and I said to them, I said, can we just test for pancreatitis? Because they weren't going to do that. And they did. And they found I had a significant attack of pancreatitis. They thought they were going to operate on me. They didn't know if they were going to have to take my gallbladder out. But then they were quite stigmatizing as well, because they thought they basically put it down to alcohol abuse. And I was like, well, hang on. That's not the case. And I explained to them my drinking habits is 1 to 2 drinks 3 or 4 times a week. And occasionally on a longest day, I might have 6 drinks. Very occasionally. They confuse that into being 6 drinks a day, because the doctors are so used to seeing people with pancreatitis, and they're going, oh, well, that's just alcoholism. So I got stigmatized by that, and I got triggered really heavily, because I've overcome alcohol addiction in the past. It's something that I've overcome, and I worked hard on that. And I got myself to a point where alcohol wasn't an issue, and I could enjoy 1 or 2 beers because I just enjoyed having 1 or 2 beers, and that was it, done. So I've been down that path, and so for them to accuse me of that again was really, really triggering. So that for me was a trigger point. And when I first emailed you, I was sitting in my hospital bed on endone because the pain was so severe. And I had these realizations like, okay, this has now happened to me. I've been told because of this, I can't drink alcohol again. I can't eat some of my favorite foods. I can't have any spices. I need to change a lot of things that I enjoy. I need to change my lifestyle. So they were the trigger points. And since then, I've been recovering physically. It's a process to recover from this. And so that's been difficult, but it's also been interesting as well, and enlightening. It's provided me with the opportunity to really look at myself and really look at changes that I need to make and want to make. It's brought about a fair bit of raw emotion. It's brought about a fair bit of real honesty, real vulnerability. The physical side of it, there's been a lot of fatigue. I've lost a lot of weight in a very short space of time. I've sort of dropped, since I got sick, I've dropped 8 kilos in a very short space of time. I'm dealing with fatigue. I'm dealing with, on and off again pain. My system has changed a lot. I'm dealing with restrictions in what I can and can't do physically as well. So it's dealing with that whilst also trying to still work because I need an income, whilst also trying to get through my studies as well, and also grow as a person. So, so that's sort of where it's been.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's been a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to acknowledge that as well. It's it can be so easy to go from here, and because you're a very evolved person, you know a lot of stuff, you're very self-aware. It can be easy to get to a point of, okay, right, so what's next? How do I change this? What's my next move? And there's nothing wrong with that, because of course, that's you noticing what needs to get done, but also acknowledging what's happened and what you've gone through and what you are moving through at the moment. I mean, just hearing you talking, and I don't know if this is correct, but I can imagine there might be some grief around that as well, you know, leaving something or a way of being, and needing to make changes that you might not necessarily want to make, like all of those changes, or you didn't plan your life to change in this way.
Yeah, I always thought that, you know, changes were going to be inevitable. And I was always going to, my thinking was always going to be, yeah, I'll change one day. Yeah, I'll do that one day. Or, yep, that will happen one day. And then all of a sudden it was literally in that moment. I never conceived that it would be thrust upon me due to an illness, and that an illness would just bring up so much. It would reveal so much in such a very, very short space of time. And so, you know, I always felt, I guess I always felt that I was like, I'm totally got this. I'm in control of it, and I'm cool. I know what's happening. To all of a sudden, it's like, holy shit, I've just reached a cliff, you know. And you're 100% correct when you're talking about grief, and it's something that it's taken me a while to actually fully acknowledge that to myself. There's been a fair bit of grief about, you know, the person I used to be, so to speak, the identity attached with what I used to do. And it feels like the last 3 years, a lot of the changes that have happened in that spectrum of both work and academia for me were forced upon me. I didn't really have a say in that either. And I sort of got to a point where it's like, well, okay, cool. I'll do the sound therapy, and I'll do the holistic counselling, and I'll do this and I'll do that. It was kind of like I was searching for a realignment of my own purpose, in a way. And the last 6 weeks have really brought that to the foreground for me. And it's been confronting. It's been confronting. And at the same time, like I've really welcomed it as well. But you are correct when you say that I'm at a point where I'm almost sometimes don't know how to move forward. I don't know what to do. And I kind of have to remind myself that it's okay to feel that. But at the same time, so, well, surely this isn't it. I mean, at the moment I'm working a job just to pay my rent, and then I'm working another job, which is, you know, it's still related to the audio world and that world. And I do a little occasional amount of touring, but it's, you know, I can't rely on that to be an income stream. So I do the other one, which is basically feels like for me I'm going back 20 years in time. You know, I've gone back to, you know, helping to lug in PAs and then set up PAs and do stuff that I was like, oh, look, never really wanted to be doing that when I'm approaching 50, and here I am back doing that. And it was more out of, well, necessity, because I need to get an income as such. But so in that respect, I feel like I'm going backwards in some ways. Yeah. So my natural inclination is to go, right, how do I move forward?
Yeah.
Yeah. And some days I'm finding it very hard to see what I'm actually trying to move forward to. You know?
Good awareness.
I have this other thing too that I've noticed again in my life, is that I have a habit of sometimes just going, screw it, I'm going to move overseas again. You know, I'll go and live in, you know, some of my favorite parts of the world, whether, you know, or I just need to go over and hang out in Cambodia for 6 months, or I just need to go and do this for 6 months, and, you know, I need to go and do this retreat somewhere, you know, because in the past it's been a wonderful thing that I've done, but it seems to be a habit that I go through these cycles. So that's the mindset that I have. So, you know, I fluctuate very heavily between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset.
I mean, that that makes sense to me as well. You know, that idea of wanting to have a little bit of respite, I suppose, and let go of all those things that is now so in front of you, to want to go, oh, you know what? I just want to go and do this. I just want to get away and just have a bit of space where there's, where I can let go of some of those things that feel heavy right now. And, you know, and sometimes that's a good thing. And sometimes we're aware that it's just a part of us that's wanting to escape. And what we really need to do is sit down and actually rest in the uncomfortableness of the present. And create respite in another way, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like I used to avoid sitting in the uncomfortableness. I've always been very reflective. I was always able to detach myself quite easily for a number of reasons. But this time I feel like it's important to still be attached, or in so much that it's better to be present with it rather than try and escape it. But at the same time, it's like, well, maybe I am better off moving. Maybe I am better off getting rid of everything. Maybe I am better off just like literally wiping the slate completely clean. Maybe to do that I do need to go overseas, maybe, but then it's that escapism. So this is the cycle I get caught into. So I get into that depth, I sit in my office and I go, far out, I'm going to sell all my friggin' microphones, I'm going to sell all my music gear, I'm just going to sell my car, I'm just going to get rid of everything, you know, go live on a hilltop by myself, you know. Yeah.
Only one.
And that impacts
that, really. There's one thing you can't sell off.
Me.
There's one thing you take with you, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. It's funny, a friend of mine said that to me the other day, but it's so. So yeah, so hence I haven't gone and done that. So yeah, I guess what I need to work on is. I guess it's an interesting situation for me too, Madelaine, because, you know, things have always come fairly easily for me. So I've done a lot in my life, and I've always achieved pretty highly, and whether that be in music, whether that be in academia, whether that be, you know, in media stuff, whether that be, you know, pretty much most aspects of my life, not all. Not all. So I feel like the problem with that is that because it's come easily, sometimes I don't feel like I have to try, and I don't try. And I just sort of go, oh, well, look, that's fine. That'll just happen. That'll be fine. I'll just do that. I'll just do that. And at this moment in time, it feels like that could be hindering me.
Okay, tell me about that.
I feel like it can be hindering me because it means that I'm not disciplined in some of the things that I need to do. I feel like I need to do. Maybe I don't need to do them. I don't know. So, for example, if I'm following what my gut's telling me, what my instinct, what my intuition is telling me, I go, okay, cool, that's what I need to do. And then my discipline is shocking to do it. You know, so I might do it for a couple of days at a time and then just not do it for a week or two. And so for me, it's like applying myself to the actual doing of it when it's pushing me even further outside my comfort zone, is an issue. I believe it's where I feel like I'm falling down.
Okay, so give me an example, like making it real for me. What's an example of when you do that?
Sure. Okay. Let's go with a really basic one, and I'll start it first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning, I go, right, I'm going to get out of bed. Yeah. And so if I set my alarm at, say, 7 o'clock, and I'll go, right, I'll lie there for 10 minutes and then I get up. And then I hit snooze, and then I hit snooze, and then I hit snooze. And then I go, cool, I'll get up and meditate. I'll try and do that every day because I know what that does for me. But I do it twice a week, 3 times a week sometimes. And the other times I'm finding I'm either making an excuse for myself or I'm just not being disciplined with that. Yeah. So that's one example. Yeah. The other one is, say, for example, doing eating in the right way in order to help my system. I'll do it for 1 or 2 days and then I'll just go, it's all right, I'll just have this, or I'll have that, or I'll have this. That's such an old behavior. Such an old behavior of mine. Yeah. And that harks back to that. Weirdly enough, we're going full circle back to the beginning. So that harks back to when I used to be a drinker, like a heavy drinker. There was that pattern of behavior where it was like, it's all right, I'll just have one. I'll just have another. I'll just have another. It's all good. I'll just have another. It's all right. I'll just have one tonight, or I'll just have another. And, it spiraled. And that's how the drinking thing was. So it's interesting to see there's that behavior that's associated. So they're 2 examples.
So
the other one's to study.
Sorry. Yeah, just to stop you there, because they're great examples. I'm just curious when you're talking about it. And then we were just talking before about just going away, just selling all the stuff and just getting out of here. I get a sense of it's like a similar energy around those 2 things. I'm not sure if that's correct or, is that similarity, like similar sort of energy? I'll just have another, or I'm just going to sell my stuff. I'll just, a similar sort of energy around those things.
Yep.
I might be out on a limb here, but it feels almost a little bit rebellious.
I've always had a rebellious streak. Always. Yeah. I rarely do anything that would be considered to be conservative in that respect.
So you like,
and that's been a thing that I've always. It feels like. So it feels like it's innate. I feel like I've had that ever since I was a kid. Ever since I was a child, I've had that. In music, I refuse to work in the real mainstream. I refuse to work for the big promoters. I used to, in academia, I was always on the very, very outer edge, probably very, very lucky to have actually even had some sort of department that would actually have me for a while, because I would see things so far differently to others. So I've always had that. Yeah. So you're right. There's definitely that rebellious. Definitely don't like administrative authority. That's something that I don't like.
So when the ministry authority in your mind is saying it's really good for you to go and meditate, your other part's going, nah, screw that. I'm gonna go.
Probably. Yeah. I feel like I think you're spot on, because it's so ingrained. Like it's so ingrained in my fabric that and it's been ever since I was a young little punk roaming the streets of Chippendale and Newtown and go and get I used to admittedly, yes, I used to go and just get smashed when I was like 12 or 13 and did that. It was rebellious, and I was silly because at that time I was actually potentially could have had an AFL career, weirdly enough. But instead of that, I chose music, and I chose rebellion, and I chose punk rock, and I chose that path.
So here's a thought. What if your rebellious nature is a gift?
Yeah, I could live with that.
Like, look, with anything rebellious or mischievous, right? When we pull it too much on either side, either we numb it down or we go AWOL, right? And things get over the top. Like all of those things, it's about finding your way to be rebellious and still be wholesome and healthy and well.
Yeah. So if I'm seeing it as a strength, I guess I ask myself the question then, so how do I okay, so I guess I've got it in my head that the things that I know that make me feel good, so meditation, and for me, meditation allows me to put myself in a space where I can then enter a space where I can facilitate, say, for example, a sound healing for someone.
Yeah.
I can hold space for someone. It also requires me to be open.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to work out, how does that rebellion and that fit together?
Well, a word that comes up straight away is playfulness. Maybe the way you to meditate or is to be playful with meditation. Maybe it doesn't have to have, maybe there's some rules that needs to be broken for you to make it your thing. Heck it, today I'm going to go out and I'm going to do a walking mindfulness. I'm going to go, I don't know, whatever it is for you, right? Maybe you have to be playful with that and everything else, because another great thing about you, which fits very nicely into or together with being rebellious, is your creativity, which is another gift of yours.
I feel like I don't really honor that very often. Creativity. Yeah, I feel like I push that to one side sometimes. Yeah. I do use it when I'm cooking. I do use it when I'm thinking about concepts, and I've actually rediscovered that whilst doing this course, doing the practitioner course, but my rebellion, it's funny you say rebellious, because I find that my analysis is always is on the rebellious side, interestingly. Yeah, so I have a different way of looking at things. I have a different way of potentially performing some of the tasks.
Yes.
Yeah, creativity comes out for me when I'm doing the sound therapy stuff. I can use the example of this morning, and I found myself at one point playing 3 instruments at once. Somewhere. Yeah, but I still feel like I shelve my creativity sometimes.
Well,
like I can't. I either I haven't got the time, or
or maybe you need to look at creativity as a form of rebellion too. Maybe it doesn't have to have parameters and rules. It can be what it needs to be. Maybe it can be more playful. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it can be less restricted, so that it can infiltrate and come into all the aspects of your life, whether that's work or play or meditation or anything. Maybe being, maybe creativity is the thing that will nurture your rebellious part?
Yeah. I feel like what you've just said, it's just brought about this little thought in me, is that I feel like the reason that I'm also inclined towards different therapies, natural therapies, alternative forms of healing, non-Western forms of healing. There's a lot to do with that, what you're talking about, with the rebellious stuff as well. So, interesting. There's a definite reason that I'm drawn to it and always have been drawn to matters of healing, matters of health, matters of well-being, matters of feeling, something deeper than just the standard, biomedical approach to healing. And the standard, to be honest, the standard psychological aspects of looking at mental health as well. So I've always been attracted to yoga, meditation, different natural medicines, herbal medicines, plant medicines. And I feel like that's also been in part about rebellion, but it feels like there's a deeper truth that I just know.
Yeah.
But I feel like I cloud that sometimes, which is interesting because you were saying rebellion could be could be a gift, but I think sometimes, I don't know, maybe I use that to block myself in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't make sense to you.
On an abstract level, yes.
Because that's more important, right? But you said something interesting here. You brought in the word sensitivity.
Did you say I'm avoiding the word?
No, you brought in the word sensitivity when you were talking.
Yeah.
And I just had that feeling of, isn't that like a beautiful combination? Because if you think about your rebellious side and your creative side, when it combines itself with your sensitivity, your ability to be very self-aware, but also to be able to sense what's going on with others or energetically or however you're working. When you have that combination of those three, it feels like almost like a magic sort of potion. Because if you think rebellious and creativity without the sensitivity, it feels like that could be that AWOL, that, screw it. Let's just go and sell all the microphones and get the hell out of here. Whilst if you add in that sensitivity and that deep connection to self.
Yep. Yes. And I could align that with passion. And I could also say that that's actually something that I feel like goes missing sometimes, or I can't find it, or it disappears, or it gets hidden, or it just, it gets lost sometimes, but it's not for the not for the, I want it to be there. It's not like I sit there and go, I don't want to be passionate. And so I want to be passionate. I feel like that's a wonderful thing to have. I personally feel like it gets lost. And I feel like what you were talking about, bringing the sensitivity to the creativity and the rebellious side that I have, I feel like that passion's at the key, like at the core of that. It's like an innate passion that sometimes it's not even a it's not even a conscious thing sometimes. It's just there.
So it's almost like sensitivity, be your rebellious nature and nature and your creativity. When those three things combine, the result of it is passion. Like the result is it equals passion. Like it's the feeling of being passionate.
Yeah, and without certainly without the sensitivity part, there would be no passion.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. It kind of sums up where I'm at. Is that some days, I feel almost dispassionate with what I'm doing. Other days I'm like, today is just, today's awesome.
Yeah.
It's an awesome day.
Yeah.
But 2 days ago was kind of almost, or 3 days ago was kind of the opposite. It was just like, oh, far out. I'm doing this again? Really? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
That in effect was actually in respect to work. So you asked earlier about whether the changes that I'm looking at were about my relation, were they personal or were this about business and work wise. If we come back to that, the work thing might be that I'm doing now is not what I'm passionate about at the moment. Doesn't feel right. Yeah. 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 Even though I still like sitting behind a mixing desk sometimes, I don't really want everything else that goes with that. I don't want it just doesn't feel right or resonate for me. So, and same with, my other job that I do, which is I literally stand behind a bar and pour beers twice a week, just because the energy for that is just, I find that just so conflicting. Because I'm dealing with a bunch of people that are just, quite prepared to talk the talk, but take absolutely no responsibility for themselves. So and I'm not saying that about, say, many of my fellow workers there, but it's more about, it's just the nature of what people do when they go to the pub every day. That's what they do. I feel like I get caught in that, even though I no longer drink and I no longer do that.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm doing those two things that are quite almost dispassionately.
So in an ideal world, what is your ideal day? I'm guessing it's something similar to what's going on today, right? But what is your ideal way to live?
I've been thinking about that a lot. Been really thinking about that a lot. Wow, it's amazing how an illness can all of a sudden just give us so much time to contemplate things. I still haven't fully figured that out, and I can't even say if that my ideal day would be the same every day.
I wouldn't think it would be. Thinking about what we just spoke about, that would be the worst way to live, right?
Totally. I'd be rebelling against myself constantly.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. So my ideal day would probably be, I have this vision of like I enjoy. Well, I think about what I enjoy when you ask that question. I enjoy coffee. I enjoy the beach. I enjoy warmth. I enjoy not being rushed. I would love to be able to have sound healing sessions and coaching sessions with people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a couple a day is fine. And then doing some of the other things that I enjoy, because yoga, for example, because I know that that's good for me. Some meditation, because that's good for me. But then there's other things. It's like, because I also don't know, because the way that I've worked for so many years in music, and even though I haven't really been in it for a couple of years because of all the COVID stuff, my patterns of behavior, my patterns of socializing are still ingrained in that a little bit. So I don't really know. Right? I'm still trying to figure out, what do people do? Because for 20 years of my life, my socializing, my behaviors, my lifestyle, although not exclusively, have revolved around that concept of music, gigs. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm studying. And then there hasn't been a lot of time for a lot of other things. And so I don't know what people do with downtime. So in that respect, I don't really know what an absolutely ideal world looks like, because, you know, it's really foreign to me in some ways. And I feel like this is for me, I feel like this is like a key thing. So, well, okay, I'm wanting to make these changes, but what do I change to? Like, how do I change? Like, what's this new thing? Like, how do I do that? It's quite strange. So that's what I was saying before about being in a liminal space. It really is in a liminal space.
Yeah.
So, yeah, ideal world. Yeah, you know, I've been doing this one exercise, which was in one of the modules, which is looking at best possible self, and so I found myself doing that constantly, that exercise, because I'm still trying to figure that out. You know, I'm still trying to work out a way that I can become, or go that next level, become that person, fulfill more of my potential, if you like. But, you know, also working out, well, what is it that I do? What is it that we do here? Like, what does this look like? Yeah. So, yeah, I still see the beach feels like it's a good place to be. Coffee was always a nice thing to have. Warm sea breeze. Yeah, all that kind of thing is lovely. Location-wise, work-wise, yeah. Career, you know, the sound therapy, some counselling, maybe some study. But I don't really know what exists, and a couple of personal practices. But apart from that, I don't really know what else. It feels like there are some gaps that I just don't know how to fill.
Do you feel like, because very often when we talk about this sort of things, it feels quite linear. So, you know, it's how do I do this to get to this place? Or what does my ideal life look like? Or, you know, and it's almost like we're talking about it as this destination or this point to get to. But the truth is, it's not really real, right? There is no, like, balance is fleeting, you know. That's a perfect example. You know, we are very often taught that we need to create balance in our life. We teach people to create balance, you know, like it's a destination or a place to get to. But the truth is, balance is always fleeting. It's never balanced for a long time. It moves in between the plus and the minus, and that's what creates the balance. And every time something shifts, we need to seek the balance in the new reality. So maybe it's a similar thing to what we're talking about here, is that I wonder if it really is a destination of, this is where I want to figure this out for myself, or if it is finding balance in what you're doing and where you're at, and finding balance in the variety, because you don't seem like the person that needs you need obviously some form of normality and routine in your life, right? Everybody does. Like, we need to eat, we need to wake up in the morning, all the basic stuff. But it seems like you're the kind of person that needs a lot of variety. Maybe it's about finding balance in the variety of your life, actually being a very multifaceted person and still being whole. Like, maybe that's the quest, instead of becoming somebody else or stepping into the next part of you, or, you know, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just finding the multifaceted person that you are and finding balance in whatever happens in every moment.
Maybe. It almost feels tiring to be me sometimes. And it's funny, because on one hand, I wish for the simplicity. But I don't know what I do with that simplicity.
Well, it depends on what you mean with simplicity, right? If simplicity is not having variety and having things that are routine, I would make sense that you would rebel against that.
Yeah. So I feel like sometimes I'm doing too much. So we were talking about multifaceted. That is one of my tendencies. Is that I just do too many things because I can. And obviously the variety thing.
You're doing too many things. Do you feel like what's the is it you that says I do too many things? Who makes that choice to say it's too many things? Where does that come from?
Well, I would have to. I guess I would have to make that decision as to what that is. I'd have to do that and take responsibility for that.
Okay.
But yeah, so the things. So, for example, what I have on my plate at the moment is that I'm a volunteer tech director here at this radio station. I do have jobs as an audio person and working behind the bar. Both, you know, they're not huge hours per week, but there's some. I'm finishing my diploma of sound therapy. I'm doing this diploma. You know, so there's putting together a tour at the moment as we speak. So I'm making time for study. Yeah. So I don't know if my plate is over full, but it feels like I've got a lot on.
Does it feel like it's too full? Like, does it, you know, is there something that you feel like you would love to let go of out of all those things that's on your plate?
Yeah, I feel like I would really like to let go of the jobs that I've got to start with. you know, but I realize that they serve a purpose in providing me with an income.
Yeah.
So it's more of a necessity. But in an ideal world, yes, I wouldn't be doing either of those jobs. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would like to let go of those.
Yeah.
So, but as I said, it's a necessity at the moment. And then I think, well, is there another way that I can get around that? And that's when I go, wow, I don't feel like I've got enough time or energy at the moment to be able to research or formularize or work out another way that I could get around having those jobs. You know?
Yeah. And you know, like, you're right, you know, like, we obviously, I'm sure you want to let go of the work, but like you said, you don't want to let go of the income, right? So that's a longer term goal. So maybe it's sitting down and going, okay, how much does these jobs make me? How much will I need to earn in my business in order to transition, and getting a number, and figuring out how many clients or what do I need to do in order to make that happen, and using your creativities to create ways to transition into that, because that's certainly not impossible for you to let go of those jobs. If you're talking, you know, 2 months time or 3 months time, and you're moving ahead and you know exactly the sum you need in order to transition over, that's fully possible, right?
No, it is possible. Absolutely. It really is. It's I guess I'm almost impatient about it, because I find that sometimes it makes me really tired, and that I just don't have, like, as I said, the energy to even sit there and do that. So that's how I feel sometimes.
Yeah.
So, God, yeah, I could do that, but wow, it just seems so full on. You know, so especially at the moment too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still very. I've found that recently, because of this illness and because of I've taken a lot of energy off the plate, so to speak, and I'm using this internally, so I'm not giving out as much energy as I usually would, or expelling as much energy, or spending as much energy doing other things, because I'm having to, you know, I'm very focused on my recovery physically from this illness, but also from my inward reflections as well. So yeah, when it comes to doing things like that, I've almost no energy left. Yeah, maybe I just need to sit through this for a bit longer until such time I can.
Yeah, and maybe then those jobs that you have helps you to be able to do that. Because if you have those jobs, you know, they're paying for you being able to sit down and figure all that out. And then, you know, it's thinking about getting to a place where you feel comfortable and healed, so that you will have the energy to transition over, like we spoke about. But maybe those jobs that you have are actually, you know, they sounds like they're serving you right now.
They are to a purpose. Yeah, they are to a point, which is just the financial stuff, I guess. Yeah. And they offer me a little bit of flexibility as well, which is a good thing. You know, are they good? They're not good paying jobs commensurate to what I would usually get. Yeah. So I guess I probably struggle a little bit with that. So yeah, I guess with that respect, I'm still battling that whole feeling that I've just gone backwards by doing these jobs. Yeah, and it's kind of, in a way, maybe that's sort of what I feel is debilitating me a little bit as well. But yeah, as I said, I often feel that I'm just caught in this little bit of a cycle.
Yeah,
where I feel like I'm just stuck. And therefore that's just like, well, I've got to change things. But how do I change things? So I keep going back to that cycle that I get caught in. Yeah. Yeah. So
and you know, the ways that you might have changed things before or made decisions before because of what's happened. Some of those things don't apply anymore because you've changed, and you know, you've had a physical experience as well. So you've been through something that requires healing and requires you to sit down and feel things and experience things and deal with what's going on inside. You can't, you know, run away from that or shake it off. It's there. It's in front of you. And, you know, sometimes it's okay not to know what we need to do next. Sometimes what we need to do next is actually just sit in that space and allow ourselves to heal, and go gentle, because, you know, you're a high achiever. You know, like you said before, there's lots of things that you're capable of doing, and a lot of things come easy to you. That's not really a problem for you. But this right now is not about that. This is about you taking time to heal and to also feel into, where do you want to steer to next? How do you want to play this? Might be different because of that, because you give yourself some extra time to figure all those things out without needing an immediate answer.
Maybe that's what I'm seeking. Maybe that's what this is that, to having immediate answers. You know, yeah, it feels like maybe that's what I'm searching for, is that immediate answer. So why don't I have that immediate answer? Yeah. So if I take that perspective and alter that somewhat, yeah. As you said, it's sometimes this is not necessarily about that end point of balance and achieving that balance. Like, here's balance. You know, it fluctuates. It goes between. We need to adjust all the time. Yeah, that sort of balance. Like, I'm actually finding I'm writing down immediate. I've just put a word cross through the word immediate. Yeah. So rather than just accept it as it is and take the time, rather than just going, well, I need to have an answer, I need to have something to work for, I need to have something to do right now. Yeah. Well, I can give that a go. Yeah.
It's like, you know, we both have glasses. It's like you've just been given a new pair of glasses and you're still adjusting to what you're seeing, you know?
Yeah.
If you make decisions right now, it might not be necessarily the best decisions for you. Just need to allow yourself to adjust your vision.
Yep. Yep.
You're still you.
That makes sense.
You know, you're still you.
Yeah, I feel like I'd like to explore that idea of, you know, at some point, of the changing identity thing. I feel like is interesting. Yeah. I'd like to work through that at some point.
Yeah. You know, instead of changing, maybe it's just all about transforming the identity, because when we change, it normally means we get rid of something in order to move into something else, whilst the work that we do, you know, we're not going anywhere. We grow that way, not forward. It's not linear. It's expansive. That's what inner growth is. That's what, you know, we're so programmed to think that there's somewhere to get to. I haven't found it yet. It's here. It's the expansiveness of it. It's the stillness inside, the uncomfortableness that gives you that, because that's where you'll find your answers. That's where you'll find your truth.
Thank you for that reminder, because I feel like I know that, but it again, it's just something that seems to have gotten I don't know, it just got hidden, like, over the past few weeks.
Yeah. So, how are you feeling right now?
Good and open. Yeah, definitely open. And I feel calm, but I also feel slightly emotional as well. Yeah. Humbled as well. So that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's one of the words that I was writing down as we were speaking. Humble. Because we got to remember that, you know, all these things that is happening to us, or, you know, when we don't have our ideal day or ideal life, one thing it gives us is it helps us to stay humble. You know, there's so much gifts in our uncomfortableness. And one of those gifts is the fact that it helps us to stay open, vulnerable, and humble to life.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing thing. I never used to welcome it, but I do. Because I guess I see it as an opportunity to grow. I feel that's just my natural inclination, is to be open and to be vulnerable and just to go, well, here's me, and this is what's going on. In a way it's liberating, but in a way it's you know, it's my opportunity to grow when I do that myself.
Yeah.
And to learn.
Yeah. Thrive where you are planted, right?
Yeah. And right now that's here in Belgium, is where I'm planted.
Yeah. Yeah.